more popularly known as the PSA Jackal, and named by Double Eagle the DWS Lupus, which sports your standard AR style controls, and the charging handle of the famous SCAR located on the eastern side just like an AK. Just before we violate this review, I'd like to give a warm welcome to our friends over at Double Eagle for becoming an official partner of our channel and sending out this GBBR for a full review. Subscribe if you appreciate me and all the hard work I put into this channel, and don't if you want me to chew on your hop-up bucket. Let's go. Sit down, relax, because it's going to be a long one. Starting off its life as an AR platform that challenges the norm, the DWS Lupus started off its life in the Double Eagle factory, that of which is a company that has been violating the airsoft market's expectations with upcoming releases. And that's not just because of all the cool replicas they've been dropping, but also the fact that they are the single company that perfectly cloned the Tokyo Marui MWS tried and true system and released the Noveski N4 GBBR. Which brings me to the next reason that I was thrilled when I saw Double Eagle was dropping this platform, and it's not just because I think it looks cool. No, it's because internally this runs off of the same exact system, just in a much cooler shell. We already know the MWS system is tried and true, and the single best functioning GBBR internals that you can get in the airsoft market. All this does is mean you can use the mags that you probably already have lying around, and we no longer need to run just a single AR platform, but instead can build the shell around a system that we know and love. The skeletonized stock means a short travel bolt and a rubber butt pad that feels better than any rubber pad I've ever seen in an airsoft replica, with a base made of steel, sling attachment points at the base and the rear, and don't forget about the side folder action off to the left side. That sits a little more wobbly than I would have liked. The aluminum upper and lower receiver are home to all of our familiar fire control switches, which are all steel, including the fire selector, the bolt catch, the mag release, and the trigger. Your hands might be thrilled to grip something familiar, which appears to be a knockoff yet still comfortable Kung Fu grip. We also have ample amount of rail space at the top for optics and M-lock on the east, west, and south side, plus some ambidextrous sling points. And slides smooth with no unnecessary grinding. And of course, the muzzle sports 14mm counterclockwise threads for any muzzle adapters that you so please. As you may have guessed, every pin, screw, and bolt available are also made of steel. And prior to test fire, we can set the hop up by locking the bolt back and adjusting it via the dial on the inside, which in fact does click and has ample amount of room to get a finger in. Later we'll test things like the P-Mag from Double Eagle and the Lancer mags from CGS, but first are everybody's favorite D-Mags that are included in the package, which is nice to see, and honestly they look beautiful. While the exterior of these mags are just aluminum, they do sport the same features as the Tokyo Marui MWS and should be compatible with the router on the top that is curved, some thick plastic feed lips and a follower, your bolt catch and release, and then the fill valve. The dang fill valve. When loading with Coleman propane like I do, I always run the Jaeger Precision adapter. It's high quality, but a big challenge that I noticed is the fill valve is slightly canted off to the side, which means you have to make sure that you set this in correctly, otherwise it's just going to leak all over the place. I like to kind of let it, like that, sorry. We'll try that again. I found that setting it up and allowing it to kind of start to spill out on its own first allows me to get a fill that doesn't leak too much gas. We'll test the loading with our brand new Vanguard speed loader that is absolutely pumped fill of 0.32 gram BBs. And we'll pop this on in, turn it on, and see if we can't get a full fill. Looks like 37 BBs is our limit, so I'd imagine honestly 35 is probably the cap. To start off the test, we have a full mag of BBs and a full gas fill, and I want to see how much gas efficiency the Lupus has. We're going to start off and see how many full mags of BBs we can get through a single gas fill on semi. In 3, 2, 1. Wow, that has a lot of recoil to it. The trigger's extremely snappy. Even with my left hand, which is my wrong hand, you get some repeated shots out of that, no problem. Let's fill it again. Mag down, press the button. Nom, 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 nom. Mag number 2, same gas fill. Wrong-handed. I can't believe how much recoil that has. No sign of slowing down, and we did in fact lock back again. We'll go a third time. I'm sorry, did you say cooldown? We don't do that here. Oh, all right. So I get 2 full mags and a couple shots. Really impressed. Even as we started to get really low on gas, I didn't know any deviation was there up until like the last shot. Really cool. I feel like now is a good time to bring it up. The trigger, it is remotely the exact same trigger from the Noveske N4. It's a straight wall, really solid brake, little to no reset. It's just a good trigger. It's an AR trigger. Also, I started to notice the stock is getting a little bit loose. I guess from the factory there's no Loctite on this single screw, so I'm going to back that out, Loctite blew it, and then we'll put it back in place. We're essentially going to run the same exact test here, but instead we're going to switch it off into fun mode and see if it can't fare a mag or 2 on auto. 3, 2, 1. That is clean. Super clean. The bolt locked back. I'll fill it again. I gotta say, even in a world of a non-full traveling bolt, it's a little slower, but like a good slow. It almost feels authentic. Like it's not too fast. It feels good. Real good. We lock back again. There's no shot way to get through another mag, right? I guess there's only one way to find that out. That's incredible. Nearly the exact same amount of gas efficiency as the semi-test. You don't see that every day, especially not in GBBRs and auto. Now to give that mag some time to cool off, I figured we'll check out some other mag variants, and we'll start off with the other style of mag that Double Eagle offers. I imagine this will work just fine, as it works with the N4. We'll test it out anyway. Feeds no problem. Feeds no problem on fun. And it does in fact lock back on empty. And why don't we check out the CGS Lancer mags. These do work on the Noveske N4 from Double Eagle. They sit in, but they're a little bit wobbly. Huh. But does it feed? It does. Oh, well, a little bit of a jam there. I think it is possible, but this one might be a little overgassed. However, it does feed. Another important question here is, can it in fact hit targets? And we're going to test it out by dropping it into our rifle tripod. If you don't know, this is a brand new addition to our channel and our testing, and I'm really excited to use this and see what kind of accuracy we're getting out of 70 feet. Now, as you can see, we're totally stabilized with 0.32 gram BBs and a body size target over there. And we're making contact with every shot. What I'm going to do is hang up this rental kid that keeps blind firing and won't call his hits. And remember, it doesn't necessarily matter where we hit him on the target. We just want to see our groupings out of 10 shots. So here we go in 3, 2, 1. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. A little challenging to see. Some of them are just divots and indents on the paper, but obviously since the background was completely solid. But we have all of our shots: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and I think the other one, if I'm not mistaken, when I looked at it, I couldn't find it on the paper. I think it hit up here. I don't know if you could see that on the tape. But the groupings aren't too bad at 70 feet. I guess the rental kid's gonna go home in tears. You know what, I wish I could get more distance practice for you, but I'm gonna say, for stock bucking an inner barrel, that's really not that bad. Now obviously, she's about as ergonomic as they can get. It's a fancy little AR style platform, but that doesn't mean we won't test out its ergonomics anyways, and I figured why don't we run some head size targets somewhere between like the 15 feet away and the 70 feet away mark in 3, 2, 1. 2 shots every target, left to right. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1 shot as fast as we can on every target, and then we'll double down. We might need a reload in 3, 2, 1. We didn't even need a reload. That was the last of that mag. We loaded in some .3s, and let's see if we can't get it an FPS consistency reading. 327 FPS at 1.5 joules. 328 FPS at 1.5 joules. It just turned off. Weird. Try that again. 325 FPS at 1.48 joules. 325 FPS at 1.48 joules. 321 FPS at 1.44 joules. 319 FPS at 1.4 joules. 318 FPS at 1.4 joules. And 315 FPS at 1.38 joules. The performance of the Lupus so far is, if I'm being totally honest with you, outrageous. It is just a pleasure to play with. Let's take it apart. Punch out the rear pin, punch out the front pin, separate the receivers, and we'll start with the lower. You see the advanced roller design system of the NWS with the bearing and the Z system plate, including things like your hammer and the bolt catch and release. Every single part of the fire control group is made of steel. Another really awesome thing to see is there's a rubber buffer where your buffer tube would be, and that helps cushion the blow of that steel bolt we're going to take a look at now. I'm not going to take this apart any further because if you know how to take apart an MWS or an Noveske N4, which I've done on this channel previously, it is the same exact thing. Pull out the bolt carrier group, we're just going to pull out the spring and guide rod, and the bolt will come out with it. And you can see the bolt, again, like I said, is one giant hunk of steel, which means all of the contact points of the bolt onto where it catches onto the bolt catch are going to make contact with steel parts as well, so it should have a decent amount of longevity. Spring and guide rod are an interesting design, and we're going to take this apart in just a second, but I do want to show you that the guide rod itself is not made of steel, however the spring obviously is, and it's got this little buffer and stabilizer in the back, plus a setting of 2 bearings that help keep the bolt stable when riding on the inside of the upper receiver. Now if we take a moment and drop off this grub screw on the back plate, you'll be able to remove the guide rod and spring from inside of that housing, and just be careful, it's going to want to punch away from you. Now the guide rod design is also quite interesting. You can see it's got this groove here that the bolt sits in, so it doesn't go spinning around and keeps the spring and guide rod completely stable in the orientation that it's in. All in all, we love to see a bolt that's stabilized right to left, up and down, side to side. Really, really cool, and these guys will help reduce wear. Now the nozzle is also very similar to the MWS design, where it's got this little cushioning mechanism to help increase the seal of the BB inside of the hop-up rubber. I'm pretty sure this part should be interchangeable between the two. Another interesting thing to note is the charging handle is actually ambidextrous. You could switch this over to the left side if you want. You can see on the inside there the hop-up unit. I'm not going to take this down any further. It's just a couple screws to remove it, but it is also the same as the Noveske N4. You know what, Double Eagle? You're really setting a new industry standard here. Blowing my mind left and right. A really, really cool product. And just a side note, did I mention how excited I am for your gas blowback FN 2000? Regardless, to wrap it up, I love this thing. I think it is a beautifully constructed replica. I think it performed like some of the best performance we've seen as an Airsoft GBBR on this channel. This is definitely sitting in that like top 4 or 5 range, no doubt. And I love the fact that we're running off the MWS system, because not only do we have now interchangeable parts, interchangeable mags, but it also opens up the entire field for us to utilize any replica with the MWS system inside of it. Just creating different shells. So cool. So cool. Hope you guys enjoyed the review. I hope you like the DWS Lupus as much as I do. And I'll catch you on the next adventure. Peace.